Hey guys, the subject of today's video is going to be a pretty spectacular concept of piece improvement. And as you've probably noticed from the videos, piece improvement is a really key idea in chess. It's something that we should never settle for, playing with bad pieces. So this example occurred in a game of a student of mine. And right here, Black, of course, is not doing very well. They're down a pawn. They have a bad pawn structure. Actually, the starting position is this one. And they have a very bad bishop on e7. The natural move here for white would just be g5. I'm not sure why they didn't play this one, but after fg, f6, bishop d8 and pawn takes, looks like white is on the right track with realizing their advantage. Plus they just got this awesome square on g7 for their knight. Their knight can sort of like hop all over the board. Yeah, I don't know why white didn't go for that because that seems pretty simple. I suppose rook d1, maybe what they didn't like about this move, rook d1 attacking the pawn, is that black has this resource of rook c3, trying to trade these rooks and take that pawn. That's the idea. And if that rook goes there, we can just take with the d pawn, then you wind up not winning anything. And if the rook goes, let's say, back somewhere, then there's an idea of d3, and you actually kind of get rid of that pawn. So, well, instead of playing g5, white came up with a pretty radical concept, bishop c4. I mean, this is quite radical, guys. It takes a perfectly good-looking piece, sets it up for a trade, and also offers up the ruination of the pawn structure. So what's the concept, right? Well, there is a kind of a concept here, and the game itself, which went with the obvious move rook takes c4, it showed white's idea of having vacated the d5 square for the knight, and basically the knight was overpowering the terrible bishop, and black's pawns were, just super weak, and they had no counterplay. So that's how the game went. However, black had a quite radical concept of their own here in terms of handling this position and thwarting white's plan of light square domination. And that move is d5. As the computer showed this as we were analyzing the game, and I was just like, wow. I mean, just think about how paradoxical that is, guys, that instead of capturing a pawn back and equalizing the number of pawns on the board, you're actually giving up another one. So you're going down 2 pawns, and you're offering white to straighten out their double pawns like that. I mean, white's pawn structure looks pretty good. And then we simply play king d7. So we connect the rooks, we improve the king, and we claim compensation here for 2 pawns. So what is the nature of this compensation? Well, first of all, I would say that the location of black's pawns is actually quite good, right? Because they're advanced up the board, and that's giving black a lot of space, a lot of tactical ideas, as we'll see. This king is kind of boxed in, can't really improve. I think at this point we can see that all of black's pieces are looking quite nice, with this rook on a half-open file, this rook on a half-open file, and of course this bishop potentially having the d6 square. So for example, if white tries to improve this knight off the side of the board, it keeps running into bishop d6. And, white has to protect the knight, and then we have another major resource of this position, which is rook c3. We see that one a lot, the invasion on the c file, basically with the idea that if they trade, we're going to take with the b pawn, we're going to get b file play, and the g4 pawn will also be hanging. So if white moves back, we go here. And white's kind of out of resources to guard this pawn. There's nobody that can really do it. Now, once black gets that one back, more things start falling. So the computer here considers black has sufficient compensation. Another move I looked at after king d7, so I'm going to show you basically one line, guys. It's really not like completely forcing, but it just shows you the nature of the game that black has opened up here. So the move is rook to g1. Okay, white wants to play g5. It's kind of normal. And now black plays rook h8, which is, beautiful prophylactic move, just stopping the pawn from moving. And again, the knight is kind of pinned to the h4 pawn. And even though white's got this preponderance of pawns on the king side, they can't move anything. So let's say rook h3, right? They just want to play. Actually, they want to play maybe like knight f4 next move, right? So they're protecting their pawn. So rook c3. Let's say we trade. The b file opens up, and white's king tries to escape. So now another spectacular idea, guys. We sacrifice a third pawn. I mean, yeah, you never actually see this happen in real games, guys, like in the end game, to go down 3 pawns like that, and yet you still have enough compensation. That is pretty cool. And then you go rook b8. You take the open file. So you've got beautiful rook, you've got beautiful bishop, but you are down a lot of pawns. So white, let's say, is going to try to promote something here, and g6 is the kind of a dangerous looking move, right? Their pawn is quite far. You can't really stop it, but what you can do is get counterplay of your own. And actually here, I think, rook a2 looks really obvious, but somehow that's not the best after king b1, and I guess the king goes to a1. So before you take there, you actually go d3. Yeah, so we're threatening, well, first of all, d2, rook b1, capture their rook and stop their pawn. So they take, and only then we take on a2. So again, we've only got 2 pawns remaining. We're still down 3. Threatening rook a1, king b1, rook b2, king a1, and then bishop e5. I mean, just so beautiful. Honestly, like I feel like in this example, black's concept of improving their pieces is like it's so dramatic, right? I mean, they're just willing to sacrifice anything, and now they get this. And I mean, this is starting to look really dangerous for white, but they're going to promote their pawn, and believe it or not, there's no win here exactly for black. But the line goes like this: doubles check, I take your rook, you make a queen, I make a queen, okay, and white actually is like making a draw here with perpetual, according to the computer. So that's kind of how it can go if you take this concept of just the activity of your pieces till the end, and you wind up sacking 3 pawns. The game can end in a draw like this. All right, let's go back for a second, right? So the first thing I kind of wanted to say is, well, how do we find moves like that, right? I mean, obviously material is an important concept in chess. Here we're going down 2 pawns, yeah. Well, it's really from recognizing, guys, how bad this bishop is, right? And the fact that he really has no future when he's blocked by those pawns. So just the idea that I think everyone can understand is that this move is opening up the bishop. It's giving him a diagonal. And yes, piece activity can certainly be more important than material. And ultimately, black is kind of holding the balance in this position through that concept, right? Just like all of his pieces are getting really good, and white has a hard time using those extra pawns. Yeah, I was also looking at like rook d1 is a major option here as well. And again, we go like with rook c3. If they take our pawn, we trade the rooks, and then we take on g4, and again, that's counterplay. And if they trade with us, then yeah, we take, they take, we take. All these positions, the computer was always saying like, okay, this is fine for black. So, in the game, black took this this pawn and basically allowed this move to happen, right? And see, now you're not getting that pin. And the knight is going to get here. And when it gets there, it's just going to be really quite devastating to black. And I mean, yeah, black never really generated any counterplay here. So, I think, for this idea, guys, it's not so much the calculation of variations that is very important. It's more like, understanding the concept, right? The concept is that we gotta look for ways to activate our pieces, even when it means sacrificing material. Like, it has to be such a high priority for us that we will actually consider moves like that when given the chance. Like, even if we can't calculate all this out, which no one can, but just having this feel, that an open diagonal for a bishop is worth another pawn, or even two pawns. So yeah, so it's a kind of certainly a a powerful version of the concept of material sacrifice for peace activity, but I think it's also something that, at a basic level can be understood and implemented into your own games. All right, guys, I will see you in the next video.